Hello all. I'm going to do a quick video here just showing the application of Osmo Polyx to this river poured coffee table. It's a walnut stump cut, and because of being a stump cut, it's all end grain across the entire thing. So it's a little pickier on what you're going to use to finish. Last time I made one like this, I tried Rubio Monocoat, and I wasn't happy with the results because of the open grain. I think it just didn't feel like one coat was enough. It didn't look or feel finished. So this time I decided to try Osmo Polyx, which you can build up in layers. This is the 3043 clear satin, and hopefully we're going to see this the grain and the epoxy really pop out here as we start to apply it. I'd originally wanted to make a video on the whole build of this table, but because of full-time job and just working on it little bits and pieces, I never got out here and really got started, so we'll skip to the good stuff at the end. On the back of the top here, I did some sampling of a bunch of different finish possibilities, and with the end grain being open, it soaks up so much finish that almost anything else that I tried just darkened the grain too much. Wasn't happy with it. Tried a little bit of the Rubio, tried General Finishes Armor Seal, polyurethane, just plain epoxy, just some little sample areas to see, and anything that has any color in it at all just darkens up with this end grain. So I've been wanting to try the Osmo, and I thought this was the ideal time to do it. And so far it looks beautiful. We're maintaining the lightness of the grain, where a lot of the finishes you can put on something like this darken up everything to where it's just a lot more of one color. Behind me here you can see the rest of the table is all finished and ready to go. And when I get to second coat of this, maybe I'll be a little better organized and take a look at the table also. But fairly basic, all walnut. You see some people will use a buffer to put this on, since it's originally kind of a floor product that's typically put on with a buffer on floors. I'm just using a similar 3M Scotch-Brite, not Scotch-Brite, not the scratchy ones, but finishing pad. Same thing as you'd use on a floor buffer, but it's just a small piece of it just to work it in. And I'm going to have to put on a little bit more than you might normally see because of the end grain. It's really going to pull it in. Of course, you don't want to go too heavy because this stuff is quite expensive. This size can here was $53 off Amazon, so you want to be careful when you choose to use it and how much you use of it. I was going to use it on the entire table, but with a little bit of experimenting, regular finish on just a plain piece of walnut, the Osmo looked pretty much the same as any other finish that I put on it, so I decided to save the expensive product for the tops. And for the rest of the table, I just used a regular urethane. It got 3 coats, the last one being a satin finish. And so far, hopefully at that angle you can see, but I love the effect of this Osmo on here. It's leaving all the grain that we can see, the beautiful grain of this walnut piece. And bringing out the epoxy, the pigment I use is kind of a coffee metallic, it's called. Hopefully it turns out to be a good choice with the color of the walnut. next time I make a table, hopefully I will be organized enough. When you start trying to put something like this together, you realize that the people who have these channels that are really good at it, there's a lot of respect out to anyone who has these nice polished finished videos, because it's not easy. Trying to learn how to video edit adds another layer to it, something I've never done. So this video may well end up just being a one take that gets uploaded. We'll see. I haven't really had time to try to learn video editing software yet. See if I need to make any tweaks to it. But props to anyone who, all the channels I like to follow, who have these nice finished videos, because I could tell, even just trying to set up some small thing like this, that there's a lot of effort that goes into it. I'm going to go back over everything and just make sure it's worked in. There's a few areas that look a little drier just because this end grain has pulled in more of the product. You can see behind me, got a CNC router that it's kind of a recent acquisition, lucked into a deal on it, and I've used that to flatten this table, both sides of it after the pour. Makes things really nice. And a wide open-sided drum sander over out of sight, that with something like this, it really is beneficial in trying to flatten things out and get closer to a finished stage. If you try to hand sand something this large, a lot of times you're going to see unevenness because of the amount of pressure put on the sander and things. So you have to be really careful with hand sanding. Once you get a finish on it, you have something that might look flat, but once you get a finish on it, you'll start to see all the spots where it wasn't quite as good as you thought it was. And I might see that in this too. Have some tiny little pits left after I did some extra filling. I'm not sure if this Osmo is going to fill those or not. Hopefully, as we build up layers, those will get filled. This was done with epoxy the first time I used it. And it worked okay, but I wasn't completely happy with, it's supposed to release all the bubbles on its own. And I didn't find that to be the case. As I machined it down, I found plenty of bubbles that were right in the epoxy. And that just turns into pits that you need to fill as you go to sanding down and getting ready to finish. And I'm getting just about done here. We get it all worked in good, and then we'll do the last step here just to wipe it off, and that'll be it for the first coat. And I'll bring the camera in, I get down here just so you can see. Hopefully I don't have any reflection or glare at that angle. I'm going to wrap around and go under just a little bit. I've got one coat on the back side. I think that's all that we'll need. But I want to end up with more than one coat just for the first inch and a half or so in, where someone will feel it when they go to move the table or just putting their hands on the edge. I want to make sure that anyone touching it feels a perfectly smooth surface. As much as this popped out here on this first coat, I'm pretty sure when I wipe it down it's going to be a little dull yet. And I'll be looking forward to the second coat, which hopefully will jump up again. Just gonna make sure, I think I could probably just keep doing this for a long time. It would make a difference, so likely the grain has soaked in all it's gonna soak in on this first coat. Let's go. Do a little buff off. I don't have a hand car buffer type hand buffer anymore, I probably would have tried it. But I think we'll get similar results in the end just doing it this way. Okay, just about there. So again, this particular version of Osmo Polyx oil, this is the 3043 clear satin. Chosen out of any experience of my own at this point, just by looking at what other people were using and the results they got with it. I could even tell just as I buff it off a little bit more here, it shines up a little bit more and looks a little bit more finished. Make sure I have all the excess off. I don't want it to dry with any kind of buildup in any particular area. Hopefully by the later today, this is 9 in the morning, and then I'll have to double check. I think it said about 8 hours drying time. So hopefully we'll be able to do coat 2 later today and then really see what this is going to look like in the end. I've got one little bit bigger pit there that I missed in the wood. So we'll see. Like I said, I'll see if this ends up being able to build up at all with a few coats. Otherwise it'll be a little bit of character there. Hopefully the Osmo will build up and kind of fill that, but if not, just have to be what it is at this point. Alright, I think that's it for this coat. Get to where I can bring the camera in a little bit to make sure you can see it. I think this is end up being kind of a unique piece. Don't know where I ended up with the camera planted there, hopefully in the right spot. That's coat 1. We'll get back for coat 2. Thanks for watching.